The first church at Carriden was located almost half a mile to the southeast of the present church, in the grounds of Carriden House, where a burial ground still exists. It's recorded that in 1243 David de Burnham, the Bishop of St Andrews, consecrated a church here, and the eastern gable wall can still be seen by its footings. The church was a centre of village life, and important notices were pinned to the church door. The footings of the stone church can still be traced beneath the grass. The church was about 26 by 62 feet in size, similar to that of the ruined church at Kinneil to the west of Bowness. A portion of the southwest corner of the nave and its wall can still be seen poking through the grass, and there's an area of flagstones that's protected by the moss. A few years ago, a fragment of an ancient Celtic cross, carved with an interlaced pattern, and possibly from the 10th or 11th century, was discovered within the burial ground, suggesting that worship was conducted on the site rather earlier. Such crosses often stood at Christian meeting places long before stone churches were built, sometimes outside a wooden building. Until the Reformation, only the wealthy could afford gravestones, and these were placed inside the church. Well over 100 gravestones now remain in the burial ground, though some now lie below the level of the grass. These all date from after 1600, right up to the 19th century. Many display carved symbols representing the trade of the deceased, including sextants for shipmasters, hammers and anvils for smiths, rakes and spades for gardeners, shuttles for weavers, and adzes for carpenters. Late in the 17th century, the population of Carriden was decreasing as people found work in Grangepans to the north and the growing port of Bowness. By 1765, the church was in a dilapidated state. Colonel Campbell Dalrymple, who then owned Carriden House, took the opportunity to persuade the church authorities that a new church should be erected to the northwest, close to the shore at Cuffabouts. The colonel was no doubt keen to open up the views around the house, which had recently been landscaped, and he made substantial contributions to the construction of the new church, and by 1766 it was complete. He didn't have it all his own way, however, since for many years the parishioners retained a sentimental attachment to the old burial ground in which their families had been interred. For nearly 100 years there was considerable rancour, and even reports of riots, between those who wished to continue to use the old graveyard and others favouring the new. It is therefore fitting that one of the last monuments to be erected was an obelisk to the memory of James Dogood, a shoemaker from Muirhouses who died in 1886 at the age of 90. Of all those recorded as protesting at the move of the burial ground, James's name frequently headed the list. Carriden House overlooks the River Forth from the same elevated position as the Roman fort at the eastern end of the Antonine Wall, on the site of which it lies. It seems probable that a settlement has existed on the site since Roman times. There was certainly a medieval village at Carriden to the south of the then church and burial ground, and the big house, at that time probably a wooden structure, may well have existed on the same spot as now. Whenever the church was first established at Carriden, it was closely linked with the house and village. Carriden was owned by a Norman family, the Vetriponts, from the 12th century. William de Vetripont granted income from the church to the monks of Holyrood Abbey, together with a tenth of his coal. The oldest record of coal mining in Scotland, the coal perhaps being dug from seams outcropping beside the beach, along from the house. The eastern tower of Carriden House was rebuilt in 1602 by John Hamilton of Letterick, and the west wing was added in 1682 by Alexander Milne. During the 18th century, the house is thought to have changed little, although the grounds were extensively landscaped, and it was then that the old church was relocated to Cuffabouts, to the northwest. The Carriden estate was bought early in the 19th century by Admiral Sir George Hope, who had fought with Nelson at Trafalgar, commanding the battleship Defence, which captured one of the Spanish ships. It was perhaps from his prize money, following this capture, that he was able to purchase the estate. Sir George died young, and the house was occupied for much of the 19th century by his son, James, who also became an admiral, and who remodelled the house to its present Scottish baronial style. The house became almost ruinous during the 1960s and 70s, when the South of Scotland Electricity Board purchased part of the estate as a possible location for a new power station, but this was never built. Following extensive restoration work during the later 20th century, the building is once more a private home.